Everybody remembers their first wave, whether it be in the ocean, their first break in business, or their first big win. I'm David McClymont, a former competitive surfer, now turned C-suite executive leading the Palm Beach Symphony into its 48th season, and your host on the Waves of Success podcast.
This show is brought to you by IYC Yachts, Chervaux, and Square Grouper. Produced by MediaZone.
Hey everybody, I am David McClymont and your host of Waves of Success. I am thrilled to welcome a very special guest with us today, Joe Espada, who is the bench coach for the Houston Astros, which, by the way, have spring training facilities right here in West Palm. Joe, welcome to the show.
Thank you, David. Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. So I'm excited to talk with you a little bit about life, a little bit about baseball. So tell me, what have you been up to in the past few months?
Just kind of hanging out with the family. It was a long baseball season, and this is my time that I get to relax, spend some time with my wife and my two kids, do a little bit of traveling, and catch up with my reading. And it's just really close here, getting back to work. So right now, it's all about enjoying my time with the people who I love spending most of my time with.
And I also want to say congratulations on last year's season. You almost made it. So congratulations.
Thank you. Really close.
You guys are on a bit of a run, aren't you?
Yes, it's been 4 really good years here in Houston. I got an opportunity to go to the World Series twice. We won the American League twice, and we've been to the Championship Series all 4 times. So I've been very fortunate to be part of a great group of players or a great organization, and the city of Houston, great fans, very supportive, and but it's been an incredible run, and hopefully we can keep this going.
So what I'd love to talk about a little bit, and you and I spoke off camera about this, was the premise of Waves of Success is really to reflect back on the trials and tribulations of what it takes to rise to the top, whether it be in business or sports or any profession, dance like your 2 girls do. Share with me a little bit as to what you think were some of the influencing factors within the Houston Astros organization, why you've been on such a good run.
You know what? It starts with surrounding yourself with really good people. We obviously have a very talented group of players, but we do have a really, cohesive group all the way from the front office, all the way down on the minor leagues, that we all have this mantra of we are all in this together. We are really, we hold our hands, we lean on each other, and we always trying to do what's best for our team. There's no selfishness in our group of coaches. Our players understand that there's ups and downs in a season, and the best way to handle those tough moments, and show our resiliency is through leaning on each other and understand that we have each other's back. It's not about one person; it's about all of us, and that's something that we have done an incredible job. We have created this culture of winning where each one of us just wants the best for our team, not just for the name in the back of their jerseys. They really care about the city that they play for and the team they represent.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I'm also a student of culture, and in the business sense, one of the first things that we look at when we build companies is it's first who and then it's what. And you're absolutely right. I couldn't agree with you more. When you're leading institutions, you have to surround yourself with people that are going to take you to higher levels. I found it interesting when I was doing some research on you. Your parents always told you to remember 2 things from what I've heard. Treat people with respect, and always remember that people are watching. Talk to me a little bit about that, both personally and how you think that ties into the accomplishments that Houston and your team has made.
Yeah, it's something that I try to pass that along to my daughters. I want my kids to be to feel like they care. Like my dad. Yes, he's a baseball coach, but he's a great dad. I want them to understand that there's values to who I am that are more important than that coach, that successful coach that what I've done on the baseball field. There's bigger, there's things that are bigger than baseball, and how I treat people, how I want them to treat others. My parents always tell me, Joe, don't forget where you came from. No matter where you're going, just don't forget where you came from. And That's very important to me. Treat people with respect. It don't matter their backgrounds, don't matter their race, don't matter anything. You treat them with respect, and I pass that along to my kids because integrity is something that is the most important thing in a person. It's who you are. It's about character. It's about how you carry yourself. It's about what comes out of your mouth. It has an impact in people's lives. So you need to be careful how you treat others if you want to be treated with respect.
My mom always used to say the golden rule from the time I can remember, the golden rule, treat people the way you want to be treated. So how much of that are you trying to instill into the players, both from a personal standpoint, right? Because I would imagine as a coach, from a technical standpoint, you're going to get into all the biomechanics of what makes a good baseball player. But you know as well as I do that it's just as important with what they're doing off the field as it
No
is
doubt
on
about
the
it.
field.
No doubt about it. David, I remind the players that the stage they're in and the platform they have, the amount of impact, how they have the power to change the world. They have a power to get kids to believe in their dreams and to accomplish their dreams. They have that power to do that. I remind them that baseball, it's something that will pass, but how they're remembered and how they use their influence, it's something that can remain forever. So use that power and use that, for people to unite people, to bring people together. And we here in Houston, we have done a really good job on reminding our players that our community, it's important. How we treat our fans is extremely important, and it's something that our players really dive into that, and they've done some really spectacular things in our community, and it has been incredible to watch our kids grow, our players grow through the years. Some of these kids were 4 or 5 years ago when I got here. Now they kind of coming into becoming veterans, and now there is more followers to their brand, and they use that to connect with our community, connect with the baseball community. And it's been great to be part of it.
Well, it makes you realize how important it is to have the different fabrics that tie into supporting the community, and then in turn, the community supporting the team. The two really go hand in hand.
Sure. It's like I remind them, once you put these uniform on, and you become an ambassador for the Houston Astros. You go out to hospitals, you go out to to schools, you go out to public events, and people see you as someone who they want to be like you. They want to follow your dreams, they want to follow your footsteps. So just make sure that you don't forget about those things, because that impact, you want to be remembered by someone who changed, someone who changed the world in not only on baseball field, but off the field. You want to be remembered as someone who did special things off the field, not so much what happened on the baseball field.
You're absolutely right. To be able to make a difference. So congratulations, by the way, for being the finalist, I understand, right? In 2 managerial positions. Was it the Oakland A's and the Mets?
Correct.
Congratulations on that. So one of the things I always like to talk about on the show, Waves of Success, are sort of leadership principles and learning from what I like to call failing forward. So I'm sure that leading up to it, you were very excited about the possibility of getting those 2 positions. How does somebody like yourself regroup? I know that I've had certain experiences where maybe I was in a position to get a big CEO position and it just didn't pan out. And then I have to go back to the drawing board, regroup, and persevere. Share with me how you manage situations like that.
You know what, David? Very simple. Faith. I believe in God, and I know that God has a special place for me and my family one day. So that keeps me grounded. That keeps me moving forward, and I'll lean on my family when those jobs don't when I don't get those jobs. There's no reason to feel there's a moment where you're discouraged a little bit, and you put your head down and you're like, man, I've gotten so close, but I never second guess myself. I know that, there's a, God has a special place, and it's going to happen. And, that's how I do it. I just keep, I just have faith.
Well, I think they say in the sports world, trust the process, right? Whether it be
Absolutely,
golf or
100%.
baseball or football, it doesn't matter which sport it is, trust the process. So you talk about the importance of surrounding yourself with really solid people. And I'm also a student of that. It's been said that you could be defined by the 5 people that you surround yourself with. Share with our listeners the importance of that, because I think that that speaks volumes, whether it be as a bench coach for the Astros, whether it be a dad, whether it be a leader of a professional symphony, the importance of surrounding yourself with people that will make you rise to higher levels.
No, it's super important. The choices we make sometimes are influenced by what we hear. The people that we surround ourselves with, we start acting different, and we're like, man, where did this come from? Where are these thoughts coming from? And sometimes it's just the stuff that we hear, sometimes the stuff that we read. And surrounding yourself that lift you up, not drag you down. People who care about care about you emotionally and share the same values. And those are the people that you want to be around. You want to have conversations with those people and ask them, how can I overcome, certain obstacles? They always seems to find a way to connect with you because they know the pureness of your heart. And that's very important in any business. It's the people, what makes a business, what makes a company, what makes a team great is the people that you have on the team. They're the soul. They're the what connects all the dots. And I think that's imperative for any person to succeed. It's just make sure that you surround yourself with really people that care about you and love you, for sure.
So how does that relate to Houston in terms of the core values and cultural behaviors that they have within the organization? I know that at the Palm Beach Symphony, which is the organization I lead, we have core values and cultural behaviors, and all of us have to challenge each other to live up to those.
Yeah, and you said it there. To overcome the challenges, you just need to learn. You just need to lean on each other, and our players understand that it's going to take all 28 of us to accomplish our goals. And how do we do that? We hold ourselves accountable. We hold ourselves to high standards. How we treat each other, how you treat your teammate, how you treat the community, how you play the game, how you prepare for the game, how are we going to behave when things are not going our way? That's what build characters and makes us the team that we are, the resilience team that we are. It's because when things get hard, when our backs are against the rope, we continue to push forward. There is a high level, the grit on our team, the passion to win. The players we sign, the kids that we develop in the minor leagues. This is who we are. This is our culture, and we make sure that we don't crack that foundation of who we are. If we acquire a player, those values that player that we come in needs to match the values that we have in our organization, regardless how good that player is. But if he's not a person who really fits in, he's not really going to work in our clubhouse.
And it's interesting, Joe, that you mentioned that, because 2 of our core values at the Palm Beach Symphony are transparency and accountability. So I think those play a really big part in any organization, that things aren't going to go the way that you plan all the time. I mean, look at baseball, for example. Mm-hmm. You and I were talking about this before we got on. And if you look at it statistically, it's sort of a failing sport. Mathematically, right? You have a batting average of 300, and that's considered successful. So talk to me about one of the things I always love mentioning, which is called failing forward. I think in business, you have to take risks. I think they have to be calculated risks, but we're not always going to get it right. So talk to me about how you manage the players, how you manage your own self in terms of coming up against those challenges where maybe you have a player that's a great player and he goes through a hitting slump and he's batting 150 when he could be batting 350. Mm-hmm. How are you failing forward in those situations and leading your players?
I always reminding the players and the coaches that, you need to trust the process. I think we need to, I remind my players all the time, I know this is, this is a sport that results matter. And I'm 100%, but if you control the things that you can, the results eventually are going to be there. So for example, if you are, you're hitting 150, if you're a 300 hitter and you're hitting 150 for the last 2 weeks, if you continue to focus on the things that make you the great player you are, which is swinging out good pitches to hit, hitting the ball hard. Eventually, the luck will change, and eventually you will get those hits. But it's when we start pushing back and starting to second guess the process, what have actually helped you being successful. When we start second guessing those and question those, now you start second guessing yourself and question your ability to play the game, and that's when you get in trouble. So control these things that you can, which is the process, how you prepared, how you study for the game, how you work, and the quality of your work is more important than the quantity of your work. So those are the things that I remind every member of our club. It's like, guys, there's a process in place, a process that has actually helped us being very successful for the last 5 years. And of course, there's always ways that we need to evolve and change so we can maintain that success. But just don't forget that, it's all about your work ethic. It's all about accountability. It's all about being responsible for your actions, and the work you put in. That's what's going to translate into the game.
Speaking of which are sort of fundamentals, right? And the fundamentals could actually be used for both business and for sports. And that's why I've always been intrigued with sports and business, because I think there's so many similarities between the two. And you're absolutely right when you talk about trust the process, focus on the fundamentals, and try not to get dragged into what I like to call analysis paralysis, right? Mm-hmm. We can start to overanalyze things. I like to play golf. I spent 15 years managing a private Jack Nicklaus country club. And I still like to play golf, and very much in the game of golf, you can get into analysis paralysis instead of just focusing on those fundamentals. Let's talk about you.
You know what? I just want to add something about the fundamentals, just because it's something very important. And when we talk about fundamentals, I always tell the players, when you start going into slumps, always go to the fundamentals. In baseball, the fundamentals is swing mechanics, your fielding mechanics. Like, you could always go and watch yourself the last 3 or 4 days, and you're able to point out, oh, you know what? This is why my swing doesn't feel right, because my hands are dropping. The fundamentals are not there. And so you can go and correct yourself if you just go and make sure that the fundamentals are there every single day. So the process and the results eventually all fall into place.
Have you heard of the author Jim Loehr?
No, I haven't.
He's a big sports psychologist, and he published a book many years ago called The Power of Full Engagement. And it talks about exactly what you just said, sort of focusing on those fundamentals and realizing that that's the core or the foundation.
I agree 100%.
So I want to talk about your upbringing. You grew up in Puerto Rico, I understand?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, which we were just talking about. I just brought my son Mason, who's 10, on his first surf trip to Aguadilla, which is a beautiful.
Aguadilla, beautiful.
Yes, that's actually where we went.
It's gorgeous.
So talk to me about what it was like growing up in Puerto Rico. Do you still get a chance to go back?
I do. I haven't been in 2 years. My parents, they still live there. COVID has made it really hard for us to go there. But actually my parents flew here, and we spent the holidays here, which was great because I haven't seen them in a while. But yeah, I grew up in Puerto Rico. Like every Puerto Rican kid, love going to the beach, love, baseball was our way of, finding a better way of life, but loved it. Puerto Rico is a beautiful country. My parents worked really hard to give me and my brother and my sister a great home full of love, and really enjoy what Puerto Rico means to me. It's home, but it's also who I am. Passionate Puerto Rican, and I love music, I love sports, love to eat the Puerto Rican food. I'm not a surfer, but I love going and watching people catch waves. That's how we grew up. So I can relate to you. I don't know, taking your kids out there, because I've seen, a lot of my friends right now love going to Puerto Rico, and they love taking their young children, young kids to Puerto Rico, and they like to visit the Aguadilla and Ponce and all those awesome beaches that we have in Puerto Rico.
It was absolutely spectacular.
It is.
So I understand you escaped to Costa Rica, though, right? For a little post honeymoon. Talk to us about that. That's one of my favorite surfing destinations.
I did. I've been wanting to go to Costa Rica for such a long time, and been promising my wife. I gotta be honest. I we got married 12 years ago, and we did not go on a honeymoon. And I told her, honey, one day I will take you on a honeymoon. I promise. And every off season, we always end up doing family stuff, and the honeymoon gets postponed. But this year I said, you know what, honey, we have to do it. And let's go to Costa Rica. It's a place that we always, we watch TV, we watch shows, and Costa Rica always pops up, and we see the beaches, we see the jungle, we see the culture, and we're like, man, that looks like a fun place to go visit. So we did. We spent a week down there, and we had a blast. We really did. The way of life, the pura vida, how
Pura
they
vida.
just chill. And we were able to chill with the people of Costa Rica for a weekend. We are really looking forward to maybe going and checking it out again sometime in the near future.
That's a great country.
It is.
So
It was great, though.
Speak to our listeners about how you manage work-life balance. I know as a CEO leading an organization, it's a challenge. You and I were speaking about this earlier. You are type A personality, very driven, very goal-oriented, as I am. We set very high standards, very high goals. How do we balance that? How does Joe Espada balance that work-life balance with raising 2 girls and a wife and leading the Astros to a championship?
You know what? You have to prioritize the things that are most important in your life. Being a father, being a husband, that's the number one. I make sure that I want to make sure that I don't fail in those 2 areas. I make sure that I sit down and listen to my kids, help them with their homework, take them to music class, to dance classes when I have time to do it. I make sure that I spend enough time with my wife so we can sit down and talk and stay in love and have a house full of love where our kids, can grow up and be good citizen, good people. I want them to be, confident in who they are. And, but that's number one. And number two, then that's when you start getting into work. Now, you have your values. I know who I am, who I want to be, who I want my kids to see me be like, so I make sure that, those priorities in life, I bring those to my workplace. We talked about, surrounding yourself with good people. I want, in the person of integrity. I want them to see my work ethic. I want my players to trust who I am as a coach. But, for them to trust me as a coach, I need to build a relationship with them. I want them to know that I'm a kid from Puerto Rico who dreamed to be a major league coach one day. I'm still that person, someone that could sit down and talk about life. That's how I do it. I stay humble. Don't forget where you come from. The players, they're humans, and they want to have a human moment with their coach. They don't want to be talking about baseball all the time. They want to talk about family and sitting down with them and listening to their story and showing empathy and showing compassion. It's a way to connect with people, and that's how I stay grounded. And that's how I keep a balance between my personal life and my work life. My work life.
What do you like to do outside of baseball for fun, aside from spending quality time with the family?
You know what? I like grabbing a good book and reading any kind of book. I'm a biography or a novel or anything that I'm in a mood for. I'm walking around the stores, or I go into Costco and I see some books there, and I like this caught my attention. Let me just grab it and read about leadership, read about anything. So I'm always trying to invest time in my personal life, trying to get better, trying to become a better person. So I find that in books, and travel anytime we can. Get in a car, go to Austin, Texas, go to the lake, spend some time with friends and family, and also just like to stay home and watch shows with my wife. I'm not a big watching shows every 8 o'clock, but she has a list of show. I just sit there with her and pop some popcorn and get some snacks and just watch some TV and spend time with the people who make me feel happy.
What's on the Netflix list right now?
You know what? Actually, not so much Netflix, but we actually watched, like Ordinary Joe. We watched those, this
The sitcom?
No doubt. Yeah. She's got them all recorded, and so I sit there with her and we watch them, and they're a really good show. Right now the new Just Like That, the Sex and the City is on, and I like watching that on Sunday. So we sit there and we make that a date, after the girls go down and sleep, and that's kind of, how I like to spend my off season and time at the house.
I think that's one of the most important things for us is to try to continue to focus on living in the present.
No doubt about it, 100%.
So let's talk about our mutual friend, who I understand is your agent, Burton Rocks, right?
Burton
Who
rocks.
I've had the
That's
pleasure
right.
of knowing for about 4 or 5 years, has been a terrific friend to me, a wonderful supporter of our symphony. How important is it for a coach to have an agent? And from a macro standpoint, what roles does somebody like Burton play for those people that are listening that don't really know what someone like that does?
I look at me, my relationship with Burton is more than just an agent, and the person he represents. We have a really good relationship. We talked about you know about our personal lives, and he is a really smart guy, and gives me some really good advice. And during this process of managerial interviews, and you need someone there that can walk you through the process and help you, and make some phone calls from you, and when you get those that news that you not get the job, he's the first. He's right there with my wife picking you up. Joe, there's always next year. The future is bright. Stay the course, stay positive, and that's the kind of relationship I have with Burton. Another thing that Burton does, which I really enjoy talking to him about, that it's just outside of baseball, he's got other stuff that he's is important for his clients to be part of, and like me, spending here time with you right now, it's important for me to get outside my little circle of baseball and speak about leadership, with you. And he's always, Joe, there's another podcast, and they're talking about kids and schools, and I try to get involved as much as possible with our community, and he helps me connect with those people. So that's something that Burton does really well. And I'm so appreciative that all the work he does, because he makes sure that I stay connected with the community, and I use my platform to touch people's lives, which I'm very grateful for the work he's done.
He does a great job at it.
Yes, he does.
So let's talk a little bit about us being neighbors. I didn't realize that we were neighbors, right? So you live just
Yes.
across the street. What was it like living in Jupiter, which is my
Man,
hometown?
I
And
loved it.
talk to our viewers about your perspective of living in Jupiter, Florida.
I love
And
it.
then secondly, what it's like being the bench coach for Houston, which comes down to West Palm Beach too.
Yeah, I'll be down there in another month, for spring training, which I love. I've spent 6 years with the Marlins, actually 8 if we count my minor league years, a total of 8 years. And yeah, I live in Abacoa, in Jupiter, and I loved it. We actually sold our house a couple of years ago that we had there, and I wish I would have kept it, to be honest with you, because I go there every year for 2 months for spring training, and I'm like, man, I wish we could have a place where we could stay instead of staying on the team hotel. But it's just a great community. It's beautiful. The beaches, the food, the people. Having an opportunity to go down there with the Astros and spend spring training down there is fantastic. The weather is great. We have a brand new facility on 45th Street, and it's state of the art. It's really fun. The fans are great. There's so much to do there on the off days. You could drive to the beach, you could go to Fort Lauderdale, you could go to Miami, or you could even stay in the Jupiter area and go to the beach and hang out, and some fine dining. And I love it. The girls come down for spring break and they spend a week, so there's so much to do. And I really miss Jupiter. I'm glad that spring training is down there, and I get a chance to see, because I still have friends and have family, and Pam, my wife's sister, lives there, so I get a chance.
Oh,
to
I didn't
spend
know
a
that.
couple of
Does
weeks.
she?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
she's
so
also is she married to Brandon Hyde?
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's
So
actually
you married into a baseball family, I guess, didn't you?
correct. So I have a chance to kind of spend time, all of us together, and during the holidays, actually Thanksgiving, we spend it down there, and her Pam's mom is also living down there in Jupiter. So When we go and we visit, everybody come over to the house, and we get a chance to, enjoy Jupiter. We love it. We get on our bikes, go to coffee shops. There's so much to do. It's a really fun place to live.
Well, we're going to look forward to seeing you when you get down here for spring training. As we close out the show, I'd love to have you share with the listeners some of your leadership principles and what you're looking to do to catch your next wave.
Yeah, you know what? I think the most important thing is lead by example. I think people, they want to see that what comes out of your mouth is the way you act. Also your principle, like your values, who you are. There's no wavering around your values. And, it doesn't matter how hard things get. You're going to stick to your values, and you're going to do what's right for the people who you are leading. And very, very important, it's how you unite people, how you connect with people. Take time to make time to get to know your employees, or in my case, my players, in the lunchroom, in the training room. Just make time of your day just to go and make sure that you get to know your player, or your employees in a personal level, where they know that, man, this person just also doesn't not only care about my production on the field, but he really cares about my family. He really wants the best for my well-being. And then you'll start seeing how these people open up, and they start working harder for you, and they start trusting the process, and they start trusting your vision and your leadership. And that's how you keep people united and together. And, the younger players that are coming up there, they see how wonderful the culture it is in the clubhouse and in the organization, and they want to be part of it. Once they get to you, you embrace them and you welcome them, and you tell them, this is the way we do it here. This is why we succeed. It's because of you. It's not because of one thing. No, it's because of what you guys do, and you pass the baton, pass the torch to the next guy who's coming, and share your experiences and tell them how wonderful this place is. But it's all about what leaders do, and how that's the tone you set when you're in the power position in your company.
Joe Espada, the Houston Astros bench coach, I want to thank you so very much for being a part of Waves of Success. And I'm going to look forward to when you get down to Jupiter, Florida. We'll go have a beer at the Square Grouper, and
awesome.
Be sure to come out and watch some of your spring training games. And then you're my guest at our next concert, March the 7th at the Kraus Center.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this episode of Waves of Success, don't forget to like, follow, and share. We'd like to thank our sponsors, IYC Yachts, Chervaux, Square Grouper, and the production team at Media Zone.